Welcome to my channel. Subscribe and enjoy my new stories every day. Every marriage has its boundaries and secrets, but in my case, the boundary was literally a door, the door to Olivia's office. Throughout our 10 years together, she had one inviolable rule: her office was her sanctuary, off limits to everyone, including me, her husband. If I so much as touched the doorknob, she threatened it would be the end of us. The mystery gnawed at me, seeding a mix of suspicion and an insatiable curiosity as the years wore on. One summer evening, with the setting sun casting long shadows across our living room, Olivia announced she'd be working late at her new gallery opening downtown. The house felt unusually quiet, the kind of silence that screams in your ears. My mind raced, thoughts fueled by the countless evenings spent alone, wondering what lay behind that door. I stood in front of her office, my hand hovering over the handle. It wasn't just a door, it was a barrier to a part of Olivia's life I had never touched, a sacred space that she guarded fiercely. Tonight, that would change. The weight of the unknown was too much. I turned the handle and pushed the door open. The sight was nothing sinister at first, just an office, meticulously organized, with a large desk, bookshelves, and a comfortable-looking chair. But then my eyes caught something unsettling. The walls, which I expected to be adorned with her usual abstract art, were covered floor to ceiling with photographs. But not just any photographs, every single frame displayed pictures of her older brother, Daniel. I stepped closer, my heart racing as I scanned the walls. There were photos of Daniel at different ages, some with Olivia, many without. Daniel's eyes seemed to follow me around the room, his presence overwhelming every corner. It wasn't admiration, it was obsession. A cold realization crept over me. The office didn't contain trade secrets or personal mementos from old lovers, it was a shrine. My mind reeled as I tried to piece together the narrative that had played out under my very roof. Had her affection for her brother crossed a line into something dark and consuming? Was our marriage just a convenient facade? My thoughts were interrupted by the sound of the front door. Olivia was home early. I heard her call out, her voice light and unsuspecting. "Mark? Are you home?" Panic gripped me for a moment, but then a calm resolve settled in. I needed answers, and I needed them now. As she approached, I stepped out of the office, her photographs in hand. Her smile faltered when she saw the pictures clutched in my grip. "Mark, why were you in there?" Her voice was a mix of anger and fear. "I could ask you the same about these," I said, holding up the photos. "Why is your office a museum of Daniel? What is going on, Olivia?" The confrontation escalated quickly, her initial shock turning into defensiveness. "You don't understand. It's not what you think," she pleaded, her eyes darting anxiously. But it was too late for explanations, the trust was shattered. I couldn't live with the shadow of her brother between us, real or imagined. The betrayal, whether of the heart or merely of boundaries, was too deep. "I can't do this anymore, Olivia. I don't know who you are, but I can't spend my life with someone who's married to a ghost," I declared, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. That night marked the beginning of the end for us. My discovery in her office was the unraveling thread that would lead to our eventual divorce. Olivia had her secrets, and now, I had my resolve. The house that once rang with laughter of shared memories became a silent battleground of estrangement. As I planned my next steps, revenge seemed a natural course. Olivia would understand the depth of my betrayal and heartbreak, mirrored by the unraveling of her carefully curated life. I was determined to expose her obsession, to reclaim my dignity, even if it meant tearing down everything we had built together. The morning after my discovery felt like waking up to a different reality. The air in our home was thick with unspoken words and the remnants of our confrontation. Olivia had locked herself in the guest room, leaving me alone with my thoughts and a plan beginning to form. I started my day with a resolve hardened by betrayal. If Olivia wanted to keep secrets, I would uncover them all, expose the depth of her deception. It was time to delve deeper into her life, a life I realized I knew little about. My first stop was Daniel's. If I was to understand Olivia's obsession, I needed to hear his side of the story. The drive over was tense, each mile adding to the load of questions piling up. When I arrived, Daniel greeted me with a puzzled look. "Mark? What's going on? It's early for a visit, isn't it?" Daniel's voice held a note of concern, but his casual demeanor didn't sit well with me. "We need to talk about Olivia," I said, my tone more accusatory than I intended. "I found something disturbing in her office." Daniel's eyebrows shot up, his posture stiffening. "What are you talking about?" "Her office walls, Daniel. They're covered with photos of you. Just you." I watched his reaction closely, searching for any sign of guilt or surprise. For a moment, he looked genuinely taken aback. "Photos of me? Mark, I swear, I have no idea what." "Save it," I cut him off, my patience thinning. "I need to know what's going on. Has there been something between you two?" The accusation hung heavy between us, and for a second, I thought I saw a flicker of something more behind his eyes. Guilt? Fear? But it was quickly masked by his vehement denial. "Absolutely not. Olivia is my sister, for God's sake. Whatever you found, it's not what you think." Daniel's voice was firm, his denial clear, but nothing could ease the churn of suspicion in my gut. "Not good enough. I need proof, Daniel. If you're innocent, prove it." The demand was out before I could weigh the consequences. Daniel sighed, running a hand through his hair. "All right. Come in. I'll show you whatever you need to see." We spent the next hour going through his phone, emails, any link he had with Olivia. Everything seemed normal, too normal. But the seed of doubt was already sown, and no amount of proof could now uproot it entirely. As I left his house, my mind was no clearer than before. If Daniel wasn't the key to Olivia's bizarre behavior, then what was? The drive home was a blur, my thoughts whirling with possible scenarios. Once home, I went straight to Olivia's office again. I had to find something more, anything that would give me real answers. As I rifled through her desk, I found a locked drawer. My heart raced as I picked the lock and pulled it open. Inside, there was a stack of old letters and diaries. The top letter caught my eye. It was addressed to Olivia from someone named A. Trembling, I unfolded the letter and began to read. The words were intimate, filled with longing and promises of a future together, a future imagined with Olivia, signed simply, "Always yours, A." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. Olivia had someone else, and it wasn't her brother she was obsessed with, it was this mysterious A. The letters dated back years, spanning nearly the entire time of our marriage. Anger coursed through me, raw and demanding action. Olivia had lied, and whatever love I had left for her was quickly curdling into something darker, something vengeful. I gathered the letters, evidence of her infidelity, and prepared to confront her. This time, I would not be placated by half-truths or tears. With the letters clenched tightly in my fist, I marched towards the guest room where Olivia had secluded herself. The hall seemed to stretch longer with each step, my heart pounding in rhythm with my steps. I paused at the door, taking a deep breath to steel myself for the confrontation that awaited. I knocked sharply, my voice firm. "Olivia, we need to talk. Now." The door cracked open, and her eyes peeked through, red-rimmed and wary. Seeing the anger in my stance, she hesitated before opening the door wider to let me in. The room was dim, the air thick with tension. "What is it, Mark?" Her voice was cautious, a stark contrast to the turmoil I felt. I thrust the letters in front of her, watching as her face drained of color. "Explain this, Olivia. Who is, And don't lie to me, not anymore." She took the letters, her hands trembling as she glanced over them. For a moment, there was silence, the kind that screams louder than words, then she sank onto the edge of the bed, the letters falling to her lap. Mark, she paused, struggling to find her words. It's not what you think. He's a part of my past, before I met you. A part of your past? I scoffed, my voice rising with each word. These letters span years, Olivia. Years. Even after we were married. How can you call that the past? She wiped a tear from her cheek, her voice a whisper. I was going to tell you, eventually. Tell me. When, Olivia? When were you planning on telling me that you've been living a lie? I was afraid of losing you. Her voice broke, her composure crumbling. Was someone very important to me, but it's over. I chose you, Mark. Chose me? I laughed bitterly, the sound harsh in the quiet room. No, you chose a double life. You chose deception. I turned away, pacing the room as I tried to process her betrayal. Each step was a bitter reminder of the years wasted, the trust shattered. I want a divorce, Olivia. The words were cold, final. I can't stay married to someone I don't trust, to someone who loves another. Mark, please, her plea was desperate, but my decision was irrevocable. I'll be filing the papers tomorrow. I think it's best if you find somewhere else to stay tonight. Olivia rose slowly, her eyes searching mine for any sign of relenting. Finding none, she nodded silently, gathering a few belongings before leaving the room, the letters still in her hand. As the door closed behind her, the weight of what I had done settled over me. I was alone, truly alone. But there was more to be done. Olivia's deception wouldn't go unpunished. I spent the night planning, plotting every step of my revenge. Her career, her reputation, I would dismantle them piece by piece. Everyone would know the truth of Olivia's duplicity. By morning, my plans were set. It was more than just a divorce now, it was a mission. Olivia had ruined our past, but I would shape our future. The morning light broke harshly through the clouds, mirroring the turmoil within me as I set my plans into motion. The final act of my retribution against Olivia was about to unfold, and the precision of my preparations left no room for error or second thoughts. I started by contacting a well-known investigative journalist I had met through a mutual friend. With the evidence of Olivia's deceit, the letters and emails, I provided him with a story that was both sensational and devastating. It was a story of a renowned artist, living a lie, betraying not just her husband but also her public persona. Are you sure you want to go through with this, Mark? The journalist asked over the phone, his tone laced with a mix of excitement and caution. Once this story is out, there's no turning back. I've never been more certain, I replied, my voice steely. It's time everyone knew the truth about Olivia. The article went live by midday, spreading across social media like wildfire. Comments, shock, and disdain poured in from all corners, tarnishing Olivia's reputation and her career in one fell swoop. But that was just the beginning. Later that day, I made my way to the gallery where Olivia was scheduled to give a public talk. As I entered the crowded room, I could see her on stage, a mask of professionalism hiding her likely turmoil. The audience was buzzing, many of them whispering about the scandal that was unfolding online. Just as she began her speech, I walked forward, making sure I was visible to her. Our eyes met, and I could see the moment her facade cracked, the recognition of my betrayal mirroring hers. Olivia, I called out loudly, interrupting her mid-sentence. The room fell silent, all eyes on me. How does it feel to have your secrets exposed to the world? The audience gasped, some turning to their phones, undoubtedly reading the very article that detailed her duplicity. Olivia stood frozen, her face pale, her eyes searching the crowd, perhaps looking for an ally or an escape. Why, Mark? Why do this? Her voice was barely a whisper, but I heard it as clearly as if she had shouted. You lived a lie, Olivia. You deceived me, your husband, the one who loved you most. Now, everyone knows the truth about who you really are, I said, my voice cold and loud, carrying across the room. Security approached to escort me out, but I had said my piece. My revenge was complete. As I was led away, I looked back to see Olivia hurriedly leaving the stage, her career and personal life in ruins. But the story doesn't end here. Days later, as the dust began to settle, I received a package with no return address. Inside, I found a stack of letters and a diary, Olivia's diary. It was then that the final piece of the puzzle fell into place. The diary revealed the truth about her obsession with her brother. It wasn't romantic or illicit. Daniel had been battling a terminal illness, and her obsession had been her way of coping with the impending loss of her brother. A was not another lover, but an abbreviation for Angel, her term for Daniel in his suffering. The weight of my actions crashed upon me with brutal force. In seeking revenge, I had destroyed the woman I loved over a misunderstanding. Olivia's secrecy, born out of a painful, personal struggle, had been nothing more than a protective veil over her vulnerability in her familial love. I had acted on my assumptions, and now, the truth laid bare the monstrous nature of my retribution. Olivia and I would never speak again, our lives forever altered by the scars of betrayal and the ruthless pursuit of revenge. The irony of my own deception, misinterpreting her actions so completely, was the cruelest twist of fate. As I sat alone, surrounded by the remnants of my vengeful victory, I realized that in trying to expose Olivia's deceit, I had only succeeded in revealing my own.